and welcome to Allie in Sweatpants. My name is Allie and I am wearing sweatpants, and it's very exciting because these are new sweatpants. Objectively, maybe not the most exciting thing, but for me it's very exciting. I treated myself to 2 pairs of new sweatpants and this is one of them. If you are new here, very warm welcome to you. I'm honored that you're choosing to spend your time with me. And if you're returning and have been here before, welcome back. I'm also honored that you're choosing to spend your time with me. And we'll just get into it. I'll talk about what I'm wearing, though. If you have been here before, you've seen it many a time. This is my Ayasta sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl. I slightly modified it. I think I did a 6mm needle instead of a 7mm needle. And I used the Knit Picks Shine Worsted in the current colorway, which is this beautiful burgundy. It's a cotton and modal blend yarn, and I love it. I knit it like 2 years ago, and truthfully, I've probably worn it for over half the year each year. So I wouldn't be surprised if this has over 365 days of wear, and it's going real strong, so let's get into it, shall we? I have a couple finished objects and a couple whips and a lot of acquisitions, and my battery is at 1 bar. I'm currently charging the other one, so I might have to take an annoying break midway. We'll see. So let's talk about my first finished object. Here it is. I am so happy with this. This is the Jan sweater. This was in my part 1 of my free knitting patterns I've been eyeing video. So it is a free pattern. And it came out beautifully. I made it for my boyfriend. And I used Knit Picks Cotlin for the brown and the cream. And then for the green/gray, I used Knit Picks Shine Sport, which is the same as this, but sport weight. And technically the green/gray was a sport weight and the Cotlin was a DK, so the yardage was a little bit different, but they worked up exactly the same. And my boyfriend has been wearing it relentlessly. I'm actually surprised he didn't wear it to work today. I say that it's finished because that's how I feel. But a lot of people might not feel the same way. So yeah, all the ends are just tied with little knots and the ends have not been woven in. We'll see if I ever do. I might not. It doesn't bother him, so whatever. Now, I have knit myself a sweater with this yarn before in a blue teal colorway, and it pills like crazy. I mean, it's a little bit too small and the neck kind of chokes me, so it's not the only reason I don't wear it, but one of the reasons that I don't wear it is because it pills so much. And I was wondering if it was a bad batch or if that's the nature of this yarn, because I had some people in the comments of another video saying, yes, mine did exactly the same thing, or no, I didn't have that experience with it. So I was really curious to see. And it looks like this is going to pill a lot also. If you can kind of see that. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't washed it yet, but it's very roomy on him. So even if it does shrink a little bit, I don't think it's going to matter. The only modification that I think I made was the decreases on the inside of the arm. I did not decrease the way that the pattern wanted me to, because it was like you do one side of the decrease and then like 2 rows later you do the other side of the decrease, and I just didn't want to do that. I know that was probably to maintain the pattern all the way through, but I didn't care if there were some like bigger squares on the inside because of how I was decreasing. So, hold on, I'm gonna take his collar off. Come here. Let me have your collar. There you go, Nicky boy. So yes, that is a finished object. I'm very happy with it. I would highly recommend the pattern. I had no issues with it at all. It was very easy to follow, and I think the patterning is super, super easy and effective. And I was intimidated by color work for a very long time. The first time I tried to do color work, I had both strands on one finger because I'm a continental knitter, and it drove me insane. I could not get my tension in a way that I wanted to. Everything was so tight, and so now I do knit color work using both hands. So my contrast color, I knit continental, and my main color, I will knit English style, which is actually really fun. I don't know why, but like throwing in, you know, the other style of knitting, I find it very enjoyable. I don't think I would do an entire project English style, but when I do it for color work, it's like because I have a reason to do it, it's a lot of fun. So that's my big finished object for the episode, and I'm very happy with it. The yarn is pilling, but it is so soft. It is really, really soft and lovely. So I wouldn't be opposed to purchasing it again in the future, to be quite frank, especially if the pilling kind of dies down with enough wash and wear. So that's my first finished object. My next finished object is a pair of socks. These are for a family friend. I gifted him a pair of socks a couple weeks ago, and he has worn them every week since then. And I don't think he's doing it just because I made them, because I don't necessarily see him every week, but my dad does. So it's not like he's wearing them just because he's like, oh, Allie might be here, I'll wear them. It's like it really seems like he's wearing them. So I have knit him another pair. These are in the King Cole cotton socks yarn, which is a cotton nylon blend for socks in like the silver colorway. And I did a 5x1 rib. I did not do a rib for his other pair of socks, and I just figured better safe than sorry. When I don't know for sure how a sock fits someone, I like to put a rib in, just because it gives that little extra hug onto the leg and the foot, so that if it's a little bit too big, the ribbing kind of makes up for that. So I did 60 stitches on 2.5 millimeter needles, and I did a slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. So very excited to give these to him tomorrow, although I'm kind of an awkward gift giver, and I'm also an awkward gift receiver, and he is also an awkward gift receiver. So the last pair I gave to my dad to give to this family friend, and this time I will be giving it to him, which feels like a confrontation, which is kind of funny because confrontations are usually not a positive interaction, and obviously giving someone a hand knit that I care about is a positive interaction, but it feels like a confrontation. So I'm not necessarily looking forward to the act of giving it to him, but I am looking forward to him having them. So there we go. And on top of that, I'm going to give him these, which I have not knit recently. I knit them earlier in the year, I believe, but the length of the foot is the same and the stitch count is the same. But this is, I'm fairly certain, West Yorkshire Spinners and I can't remember the colorway, but I think it's my favorite colorway. It's from the range where all of them are named after birds, I believe. But the colors are really beautiful and muted. And this is a wool nylon blend. It's like, I think it's Blueface Leicester. And I have knit my boyfriend a pair of socks out of this yarn before, and he machine washes and dries them and they're fine. So I'm assuming that means they're superwash. But yes, so I will be giving him both of these, and I hear a weird noise. Stopped. And this will now make 3 pairs of socks. So I think that's a pretty good collection for one person to have. So yes, very excited to give those to him. My next and last finished object is half finished, and it's another sock. This one is exciting to me because I'm knitting it out of Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company's Hearth Sock. And this yarn is it feels very special because it's very expensive to ship to the US. And so last year when my boyfriend and I were doing our trip to Ireland, and I knew we were going to be going to Northern Ireland, I messaged Emma, who owns Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company, and I asked her if she would be willing to hold on to it for me so I could pick it up directly from her. And I said if she wasn't comfortable with that, I completely understood. And she said it was absolutely fine, and she was so nice. She held on to my order for like 2 months or something crazy like that, which is kind of annoying. But I purchased the yarn when she did like a drop, an update, a shop update. So all that to say, this is my Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company sock. It's 100% non-superwash wool, so there is no nylon content in this yarn. And so I ordered the 100-gram skein of this green. I think it's her fern colorway. And then I ordered a set of 5 or 6 mini skeins on the Hearth Sock. And initially what I planned to do was a pair of just all green socks and then use the minis for a pair of like striped socks. But I decided I wanted to use the minis for contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes because it would get me 2 pairs of green socks. So I'm using these 3 minis on these socks. These 2 are pretty similar, but I think different enough. So it's like this orange, red, and mustard. And those are what I'm using. So here's the orange, here is the mustard, and then here is the red. And what I'm doing for my second sock is I'm doing red at the top, and then I'm gonna do orange for the heel, and then I'm gonna do mustard for the toe. And I just think that's kind of fun. Like it's the same colors, but they're in different orientations. So I'm doing 56 stitches on 2.5 millimeter needles. However, I am following Emma's advice for knitting the foot longer than I typically would. I can't remember if she recommends 1 or 2 centimeters extra, but I did 1.5 centimeters extra length than I typically would because she says when you wear them, your foot moves in this direction in your shoe. And so it felt a little bit in length. And if you account for that in your knitting, it won't felt and then be too small and cause strain on the toe. So that's what I did. She has a whole video on her channel about knitting non-superwash, no nylon socks. And she gives a lot of really good information on gauge and the whole length thing and just tips and tricks. So I guess we kind of seamlessly moved into works in progress, but yes, these are my Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company socks, and I'm pretty excited. I am not excited about having to hand wash and air dry them. I really am so low maintenance with my knits where I really want them to be machine washable and dryable. machine dryable. Anyway, but I also want them to be natural fibers. So like a superwash sweater, I don't know, you know? But at the same time, maybe, I don't know. I feel like if I'm gonna do something with like superwash properties, AKA machine washable, I would rather just use a plant fiber for me personally. And so if I'm going to make something out of wool, that's not just socks. I love superwash merino sock yarn. Don't get me wrong. But if it's like a garment or something, I would rather it be wool, and then just kind of take the extra time and care to wash it and air dry it the way it's supposed to be. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. Anyway, my woolly mammoth fiber socks. So, my next work in progress is, I would say, maybe a little bit of a controversial one. And I would love to get your opinions on this. So, Knitting for Olive released a like Christmas collection of patterns this year. There was like hats and vests and a kid's sweater, kid's dress, adult sweater. And I saw the kid's dress. My battery says it's dead, but I think I'm still recording. So maybe we'll just pause here and remember where I'm picking up. Okay. My other camera battery was absolutely out of juice still, so I have switched over to my phone. I hope that's okay. I will do my best to make sure that the sound and everything matches as much as I can, but it is what it is, you know? Sometimes we just gotta roll with the punches. So I was saying that this project I think might be a little bit controversial. So Knitting for Olive released their collection, and I was looking at the children's dress that they released, and I really liked it. I liked how the snow on the body of the dress, the snow started light and then got more dense, and then there were Christmas trees, and then it ended in like white. And so they announced that they were working on their adult pattern, and it came out, and the trees and the snow were only on the sleeves. And the sleeves were like a bell sleeve. It just was not me. It was not my vibe. And so I went into my group chat and I was like, what should I do? Because here's the vibe I want. So do I buy the adult pattern for the stitch count and everything, but also buy the children's pattern for the chart and then kind of Frankenstein them together and also modify the sleeves to be like cuffed sleeves like I like? Or do I try to figure this out on my own? And basically my friends said, try to figure it out on your own. And I kind of agreed. So I kind of created my own chart. I took a pattern from Phil Kalana. It's a free children's Christmas sweater, and there's Christmas trees across the yoke. And so I took the trees for that chart and I colored them in my little graph paper on my iPad. And then I colored in below the trees like something to emulate kind of snow mounds, which Knitting for Olive had in their design. And then above the trees, I charted out snowflakes in different rates for each row to hopefully make it look like random snow placement, because I didn't want like the lice motif of color work where it's like one row of color work and then the next row you kind of like shift it so that it's like every other. Like I didn't want it to look uniform. I wanted it to look kind of organic. So I am going to put it on the bottom of the body and the bottom of the sleeves. So I'm not going to do as much snow on the sleeves as I am on the body, but I am going to do the trees and the snow mounds. And then the ribbing for the cuffs and the hem are going to be white. So the snow is going to carry all the way down the sweater. And I feel like this is controversial because I have taken an idea from a design and I have kind of like jerry-rigged it for my purposes, but I just didn't feel good buying both of the patterns to then kind of like have to do the work myself anyway to hodgepodge them together. So for the actual sweater, I am using a different pattern by Phil Kalana. The name I don't remember. Everything will be on the screen as usual though. But it is a men's Christmas sweater. And again, the Christmas trees are across the yoke and then the rest of the body has like the lice motif. So it's a circular yoke, which I really liked in the Knitting for Olive design. And I really wanted that. I didn't want a raglan. And so I was searching and searching, and this one has a circular yoke, which is very exciting. And so as soon as I split for sleeves, which I'm pretty close to doing, I think I only have a few more rounds before I can split for my sleeves. As soon as I do that, I think I'm gonna do like that much more just blue, and then I'm going to start fading in the snow, and then I have to figure out kind of how big the trees are going to be and figure out when to incorporate those. So all that to say, I am working on the yoke. I'm making the second size in the pattern because I wanted to make sure it was plenty roomy enough. And I went a little bit rogue on the neckline. I always do a folded collar, like 1x1 folded collar. And I kind of just wanted to try something a little bit different, which is so silly because this is even more simple than a folded collar. Instead of a 1x1 rib collar, I picked up and I did a 2x2 ribbed collar. And then I just bound off in a stretchy 2x2 bind off. And the way that I do the stretchy 2x2 bind off is instead of the standard bind off where you would like knit one, knit the next, and then slip it over and then continue, what I do is I will knit one, knit two, and then knit them together. And then if it's 2x2 rib, I will then purl one, purl them together, purl two, purl them together, knit one, knit two together, and so on. However, if you do that all the way around, it can have a tendency to sort of flare because it's so loose and stretchy. So what I will do is every fourth stitch, I will do the standard bind off where I just slip it over because it's just that little bit tighter where it keeps it from flaring. So for 3 of the 4 stitches, I will do the knit 2 together through the back loop or purl 2 together through the back loop. And then for the 4th stitch, I will just slip one over. Hope that makes sense. And I wasn't sure if this was going to look good or if it was a little bit like flary and scalloped, but I tried it on the other day and I think it looks really nice and it felt really comfortable. Like usually I can't have anything touching my neck. It's really sensitive for me. And it was like sitting on my neck and I couldn't feel it at all, which is like crazy. But so for my size, I cast on 100 stitches. Again, it's a free pattern. And for the neck, it said to pick up and knit 100 stitches. And I was like, nar, surely nar. You know what I mean? Like, no. So I picked them and knit 80, which worked out really, really well. And the yarn that I'm using is the Lion Brand Touch of Linen, which I love. It's like 51% cotton, 49% linen, and I'm using the blue colorway. I think it's maybe their indigo. And it's just been nice. It's just been really nice. what I'm doing for the yoke length is the yoke for the original sweater is charted. And so I am following the amount of rows in the chart, and I'm just omitting the color work. It's simple enough. And I'm nearly done. So I am pretty excited. I believe I'm using the right needles. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter needle, which is working really nicely with this fabric. So that's my Christmas sweater. Let me know your thoughts on it. I felt a little bit weird about sharing it in case it is controversial, but I also thought it was a good chance for conversation, and I would also like to be educated on it if it is kind of a big deal. So that is that. My next work in progress, I haven't worked on it a ton, but I did work on it the other night to the point where I used up the first ball, more or less. So this is the Friday Slipover by Petite Knit, and it is going to be a gift. I'm not going to say for who because they watch this video. And it was initially going to be a Christmas sweater or a Christmas gift, and I don't think I'm going to pressure myself to get it done for Christmas. I think as long as I get it to them January, February, it will be useful. So that's the goal. I am knitting, I can't remember what size. I will put it on the screen like I did in the last video. Let me know if you like that. In the last video, in my captions, I didn't just do the name of the pattern and the designer. I also put the size that I'm knitting. So if you liked that, let me know. And I am knitting this in Lion Brand's Fisherman Wool in their, like, I think it's called like dirt brown or bark brown colorway. And I don't know where I was last time, but I have done that much under the arm. And so I have quite a bit left to go, but it's just kind of nice. It's just kind of a nice pattern to come back to. I like doing broken rib. I think I like how it looks. I like to do it. I like how the increases in this pattern look. I think it looks very clean and very neat. And the wool is nice too. It feels very like old school. I feel like a real podcaster knitting in like 100% wool. But yeah. Would I prefer to make it out of a cotton linen blend? Yeah. Does this person want garments that are really, really warm as possible? Yeah. So I'm kind of hedging my bets that because it's 100% wool, it will be warmer. But who knows? Because to be completely honest, my hand knit wool socks are not warmer than my hand knit cotton socks. I really, really thought that they would be, and they aren't. My mom also has cotton and wool hand knit socks, and I asked her one day, I was like, do you find that your wool socks are warmer than your cotton socks? And she said no. So that might be a superwash thing. And this is not superwash. So the recipient will have to hand wash and lay it flat to dry. But one, I can help them with that because they are a person in my daily life. And two, I have heard that wool is antibacterial, antifungal, like it rejects dirt and it rejects odors. So you don't have to wash it as much as you do like plant fibers or synthetic fibers. So it shouldn't be too high maintenance if you don't have to wash it that much. And it's a dark color. So I think my intention also is to do an I-cord around the neck and around the arms, simply because it's already fairly wide. So I don't think the arms actually need a whole lot more that the ribbing would provide. And two, this person kind of likes low profile clothing. And I think the I-cord will kind of give them that. And also, I talked about this last time, the I-cord around the neck, I think will prevent it from creeping up onto the neck in case of any sensitivity. So that's the Friday Slipover by Petite Knit. My last knitting work in progress is the Alder sweater by Rebecca Clow for my boyfriend. This is slow going, my friends. I was really on a roll and now it is just slow. I'm on the sleeve though. So which way? It goes this way. Here it is. In all of its intarsia glory. It is heavy, but it's so nice. The last time I showed this, the colors were so off. So I included a photo in the video of the colors in daylight. It is definitely a beige and a khaki green, don't get me wrong, but in the lighting last time, the colors looked so muddled and so similar, which it is low contrast, but not like it looked in the video. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, I finished the body and I bound off, and if it shrinks at all, it'll be too short. So let's just keep our little fingers crossed that it doesn't shrink. So I'm working away on the sleeve. The sleeve in the pattern calls for decreases. However, you do one decrease, maybe two, like one pair of decreases over 4 rows of the pattern. And I looked at my boyfriend and I said, I love you so much, and I don't have the brain capacity to do that. Do you mind if these are straight and then I do a rapid decrease at the cuff? And he said no, he didn't mind. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just knitting the sleeves as long as they need to be, putting the little cuff in. I'm gonna make the cuff match the length of the ribbing at the bottom, and that's gonna be that. So I am again using the Lion Brand Touch of Linen in the stone colorway, which is the khaki. Excuse me, the stone colorway, which is the beige, and then the khaki colorway, which is the army green. I'm pretty sure those are the color names. And I forgot to mention this last time, but I am making a modification. So because I knew that this was the yarn that I wanted to use, I knew that the needle size in the pattern was not gonna work for me. It was like 3.75, I think. That wasn't gonna do. I, first of all, know that almost all my knits come out small. I think I'm a really tight knitter and I don't gauge swatch. So all my knits come out small. So I've started upping the sizes that I make to accommodate for that. And 2, I knew that this yarn on that small a needle would just wreck the health of my hands. It would not go over well. As it is, it's very sore knitting. My hands get really tired. All that to say, instead of using the recommended needle, I am using a 4mm needle. And for all the ribbing, I am using a 3.5. If it's not 3.5, it's 3.75, but I'm almost sure I'm using a 3.5mm needle. So I've gone up a needle size. However, this yarn, okay, I also find this a little bit confusing. So if you know more about it than I do, please do chime off in the comments. But this yarn is marketed as worsted weight yarn. Let me double check that. Yes. And it is 197 yards per 100 grams. But when I see the needle size that people who knit with wool are able to use for a worsted weight yarn, it is a lot bigger than I could use for plant-based worsted weight yarn. And I think I heard once, because plant fibers are heavier, something about it's heavier than wool, so the yardage per 100 grams is different than the yardage per 100 grams for wool. Basically, I think that almost all of the worsted weight plant-based yarn that I have knits up at a DK weight gauge, like a wool DK weight gauge. I think plant yarns are thinner than wool yarns. So I would say that this is more of like a DK weight yarn. Why I'm bringing that up, I don't remember, but I did, so there we go. So that's that. I was gonna say I'm hoping to get this done by Christmas. I will get this done by Christmas because I think it would be so nice for my boyfriend to be able to wear this on Christmas. I think it could be, if he wanted it to be, it could be festive, but it's also subtle enough to be an all year garment. Okay, my last work in progress is a big one, and I haven't showed it in a long time. However, my boyfriend and I went out of town 3 weeks ago now, and the only whips I brought were his sweater, the Alder sweater, but I didn't bring needles to do the sleeves. So that stalled fairly quickly. And then I brought this because it was my goal to get this done by the end of the year. I don't know if that's happening. 1, I don't have enough yarn. 2, I'm only halfway to my goal. And I thought I was like 3/4 to my goal. So, but without any further ado, it is my granny stripe blanket. I am trying to make it big enough for a queen bed. It is wide enough. But we're talking length here, people. We're working at the length. And it's long. And I did leave the stitch marker in from last time I showed it. What side's it on? Okay. So this is all out of Lion Brand Touch of Linen. I love it. And it's heavy. It's just granny stripes, so like double crochets alternated. So here's where it was last time I showed it on the podcast. And here's how far I have come. I think I need to order 2 more balls of each color to get it to the length I want. But let me see if I can. So here's how long it currently is. So I don't know if it needs to be double, but I think I'm maybe 2/3 of the way there. So I'm feeling a little bit discouraged. However, we don't have heating in our home and winter is coming. And last winter was very cold, but I had a crochet blanket that my mom made me, which was very heavy, very warm. And she's currently working on that blanket because she's making it wider for me. So I don't have that. And we have like an old comforter we used to use for our bed. But I would just love to have like a handmade blanket because I have this one on the go, and then I have my Learn to Love Steeks blanket on the go that I have not touched in probably a year. I would also like to get that one done. Maybe this one first, then focus on that one. I also have yarn to make a Sweet Shops blanket. I don't know why I have like all these blankets on the go when I haven't even finished one, but I'm very excited to have it once it is done. I laid it on the bed. It looked amazing. And I should say I'm making it big enough to put on the bed. However, this is going to be a couch blanket. I just use the bed as a size reference. Like, I know that if I make it big enough to be on a queen bed, it will cover both me and my boyfriend if we want to be under it at the same time. So that's the only reason we are going for that size. But yes, chugging away. I'm using a 6mm crochet hook, I believe. And I go through phases. I go through phases where I crochet on it regularly, and then I go through phases where I don't touch it for months. And with the holidays coming up and the things I want to get done coming up, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the end of the year goal. So maybe I will try to hit it hard in January, because it's also long enough now that I can kind of use it as a blanket while I'm working on it, which on one side is really nice and on the other is really cumbersome because it is so heavy and I have to flip it, you know, after every row. But big problems, right? So that is everything I'm working on, everything I have finished, and I have a lot of acquisitions to show you. So my sister has gotten a job at Joann Fabrics, which is dangerous because she gets a 30% off employee discount. And for the holidays, she gets a 40% off employee discount. So I have taken advantage a little bit. I want to go buck wild. I want to go crazy ordering because I know in the new year she is going to quit because she's moving. And so I'm like scouring Joann's, looking at the yarn. What do I like? What do I want to try? What do I want to get 40% off? By the way, that 40% off is on top of if the item is also on sale. So it's not 40% off the full price. It's 40% off the marked price. But I feel like I'm absolutely drowning in yarn. And I don't like the feeling. The thing I think I would find the most satisfying right now is to work through everything I have and then buy stuff to restock. I think that will literally take me 5 years, and that might be generous. But anyway, without further ado, so I said she's moving, and so I'm going to knit her 2 garments to take with her because the winters where she is going are a lot colder than the winters here in Southern California. So I might have already shown this, and if so, I apologize, but I got 5 balls of the Eddie Bauer Cozy Camp, which is 100% recycled acrylic in the gray. She is scared of gray because gray shows sweat, and her and I are sweaty gals, so I feel her on this. But I'm going to try to help liberate that fear with a knitted cardigan because it's not going to be tight to the pit. Therefore, she'll be able to live her gray dream and not worry about sweat. And with this, I'm going to make the Felix cardigan for her. I've used this yarn many a time, and if I'm going to use synthetic fibers, I really try to use 100% recycled fibers. You know, is what it is. So I got that. And then I got other stuff. So let me just make way here. We had gotten the same Eddie Bauer yarn to make her another, probably a sweater. And we got it in like a charcoal with white speckle colorway. And she liked it. And then we went to Joann's together to pick up something else for me. And I pointed out to her the yarn that I was trying to encourage her to pick, because I sent her patterns that I would be willing to make, and then I sent her yarns that would work. And she picked the Eddie Bauer recycled acrylic. And so I was like, hey, this is the yarn I kind of thought you might like. And she was like, oh, it's so soft. And I was like, yes, it is. You will have to hand wash and lay it flat to dry, but do you want it? And she said yes. So we got the KC Knit and Crochet Cloud Paca yarn, which is 28% polyamide, 14% merino wool superwash, and 58% baby alpaca. It is 164 yards per 50 grams, and it says you can use a 6mm needle. So here she is. I think it's like a blown yarn, and it is a cloud. So this is the soft gray. We got 2 balls of each color. We got soft gray, we got maple sugar, and we got whipped cream. So my initial thought was a striped sweater for her. Not gonna do that. I'm gonna do a colorwork sweater, and I will put the picture of the sweater that I'm going to make. I keep freaking out because it calls for basically 200 grams of each color. And I keep going, oh, I have only 100 grams of each color. We're gonna need to buy more. And then I look at the yardage required, and I have more than enough with what I've bought. And if not, she works there, so she'll just buy more. It's fine. But yes, so I got 6 balls in total of this to make my sister a sweater. And then I got some Patton's Croix sock yarn. I got 2 of this like lavender purple / denim color. It's the plum colorway. And it is 75% wool, 25% nylon. I'm pretty sure it's superwash though, because you can wash it in the machine. So I got 2 of those to make a pair of socks, and then I got 1 in just the, let's see here, muslin colorway, which is a creamy white, for contrasting heels, cuffs, toes, for other like partial leftover wool sock yarns that I have. So I got those. And then as a little treatsy to myself, because these are kind of expensive, I got 2 balls of the KC Essential Wool, which is 100% superwash merino fine wool, 84 yards per 50 grams. So I don't have a lot. And this is in the green olive colorway. So I got 2, and I really want to make myself a hat out of this. Not an Oslo hat or anything like that, just like a folded brim, like ribbed, and then stockinette beanie in this, because it is so soft and lovely. So I hope I have enough to do that. But yes, so I got 2 of those. And then I got 8 balls of this. This is the same brand. I don't know if this is a Joann's exclusive brand or not, but it's the KC Knit and Crochet Essential yarn, which is 100% cotton, and it's 180 yards per 100 grams. And this is the camper van colorway, which I would say that's a pretty accurate representation. It's like, okay, this might be a very specific example, but I like to drink matcha. And when you buy matcha that's not very good quality, it's this very light muted green with almost like a brown tinge to it a little bit. And that's this. That makes it not sound appealing, but I am excited. I'm going to do a textured knit with it. Laura Penrose was making a mini Ingrid sweater for her daughter out of a light green, and ever since then I've wanted a light green sweater, and I just kind of haven't found the yarn for it until now. Will this be the most flattering color on me? I don't know, but I'm excited nonetheless. So got 8 of these. And that is that. That's all, folks. If you made it this far, thank you. Please let me know if you feel like it, what you were working on. I would love to chat with you in the comments. It makes this feel like a real relationship, being able to interact with more than just myself in the camera and a little place to look, you know? So yes, I would love to know what you were working on or doing while you had this video on. And I am working on part 2 of my free patterns video because you guys seem to really enjoy that. I don't know, that one hit the algorithm really well. And so yes, I will be doing part 2 because there's lots of really great accessories in part 2 that could be really good gift knitting if you like to gift knit. So that's it. That's all for today. I hope that you're doing well. If you're struggling a little bit like I am, I'm sending my love to you. I am here to support you. We're here to support each other. Everything's gonna be okay because it has to be okay. So that's it. Sending my love to you, and I will be back when I have more to talk about. Bye.